This video is on the basics of functions. Start off talking about a relational relation, just any set of ordered pairs. So an example of that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, those 3 points. Your domain will be the set of all first components of your ordered pairs. So 1, 3, and 5, referencing that last example. And your range will be all second components of your ordered pairs. So that would be 2, 4, and 6. So comparing the domain versus the range, just like as we said before, your domain is your first component, your range is your second component. Your domain will be your input, your range will be your output. Your domain is your independent variable, while your range is your dependent variable. Your domain is your x variable, when your range is most times associated with your y variable. And your domain is your horizontal axis, and your range is your vertical axis. So once again, when it comes to your x and y, your domain and range can be other variables, but most of the time we associate the domain with the x variable, range with the y variable. A function. Function is a relation that has each element in the domain corresponding to exactly one element in the range. So we have this example of 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 8, 4, 9, and we wanted to determine whether it was a function or not. We can do a mini mapping of the first component going to the second component, and we will see if we line up 1, 2, 3, and 4 as your domain, 6 and 8 as your range. Each component or each element in your domain goes to exactly one element in your range. It just so happened that 1 and 2 both go to 6, but they only go to that one element of 6. So this first example would be a function. If we were to invert those components, in other words, do 6, 1, 6, 2, 8, 3, and 9, 4, and then do the mapping, we will see then that 6 goes to 2 different elements. And that will stop it from being a function. So once again, a function is a relation that has each element in the domain corresponding to exactly one element in the range. Here it says determine whether each function defines y as a function of x. So we have x squared plus y equal to 4. The first thing we do is solve for y. So subtracting x squared from both sides gives us y equal to 4 minus x squared. And here, if we were to plug in any value, no matter what value we plug in for x, we will only get one y value. So if we plug in 1, 1 will produce 3. If we plug in -1, that will also produce y is equal to 3, and so on. We will only get one value. So x squared plus y equal to 4 is a function. Now, let's look at what would stop it from being a function. Let's say we have x squared plus y squared equal to 4. The key to that will be looking at the power of y. If the power of y is even, that will produce a situation that will stop it from being a function. So let's see why. If we solve it for y, subtract the x squared from both sides, that will be y squared equal to 4 minus x squared, then taking the square root of both sides. Whenever we take the square root of both sides, then we have to use the square root property, which means plus or minus has to be implemented into the process. And that will happen whenever you have an even power that we're trying to get off. So you have to take the even root. So plus or minus will have to be implemented. So notice what will happen here is I will have y equal to plus or minus the square root of 4 minus x squared. If I were to plug in positive 1, that will simplify to the square root of 3, but it will be plus or minus square root of 3. So that means when I plug in 1, I get positive square root of 3 and I get negative square root of 3. And that element of the plus or minus would stop it from being a function because 1 would go to 2 different elements, the plus and minus result. So whenever I have an even power on my y, that would stop it from being a function of x. Function notation, y equal to f of x. That's how we say that, f parentheses x is f of x. All that's saying is that whenever I have y in my function, I can substitute that with f of x, and that would be considered function notation. So if I have y equal to 2x plus 1, I can substitute f of x in for y. That would be f of x equal to 2x plus 1. So what that does is allow us to give directions with the minimum amount of words as possible. If it says I find f of -3, even if it didn't say find, if I wanted to know what f of -3 was, this is telling me to substitute -3 into my function for x. So don't forget also your function has to be defined first. So you can't find f of -3 without already knowing what f of x was. So you take -3, plug it into your function. 2 times -3 is -6. -6 plus 1 is -5. So f of -3 is equal to -5. Also, this tells us that x is -3 and y is -5. It gives me that order pair. So if I have f of x is equal to x squared plus 3x plus 5, g of x equal to 7x plus 10, and h of r equal to r cubed minus 5r plus 8, and I wanted to find f of 1, g of 0, and h of 5, I will plug those numbers into their respective functions. So f of 1, I'll plug 1 into f of x. That'll be 1 squared plus 3 times 1 plus 5. That'll be 1 plus 3 plus 5, and that will be 9 as my final answer. If I want to find g of 0, plug 0 into 7x plus 10. So 7 times 0, which is 0. 0 plus 10 is 10. And then for the final one, h of 5, plug 5 in for r. That's 5 cubed minus 5 times 5 plus 8. So it's 125 minus 25 plus 8, which would give me 108. All right, last thing out of this section, the vertical line test. If a vertical line crosses or touches the graph more than once, then it's not considered a function. So here I have my linear equation. If I draw a vertical line through it, no matter where I draw it, it's only going to touch it once. So that is a function. A circle is not a function. If I draw a vertical line through it, it touches it twice. Parabola is a function. No matter where I draw my vertical line, it's only going to touch it once. This graph here, even though drawing a vertical line through it over to the right only touches it once. When I get to the left, when I draw my vertical line through it, it touches it 3 different times, so it's not a function. And then this sideways parabola is not a function as well. Let me know if you have any questions.